What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my tiny garage. My name is Jared, and we have a Mighty Vac wood chipper here for us today. This was a marketplace find that came up for grabs here close by me, and I just had to have one. We've been wanting one for a while here to use around the home, chip up some sticks and stuff for mulch, and just so happened we came across one. Now this has a Honda motor on it, which is not the original motor. It looks like originally they would have had either like a Briggs or Tecumseh, but we have a Honda motor on this one, a GX240, 8 horsepower. It does run. I verified that it does kind of run, but it doesn't run very well. So the backstory on this is that it's sat for about 8 years, not being used in a garage. Overall, it looks in really good condition for as old as it is. I don't have an exact model on the back or the chipper itself. Best I can tell, it'd be from like the later 80s, 90s era, something like that. So in today's video, we're going to see if we can't get it to run. I know the air box needs fixed, so we're probably going to be replacing that. But yeah, let's see what we can get into. We'll pull it in the shop and get started. These are originally made to be pulled by a lawnmower, so they have a yoke here in the front end, but the old owner so graciously made like a little pull handle for the front so that you could pull it around by hand, which was pretty nice of him. I think I'm going to try to leave the engine mounted here on the chipper itself. I could take the engine off, but I don't know if we really need to go through all that. But it looks like what we do have to do is we do need to get to the air box. You can see it's broken and kind of falling apart. So we're going to need to replace the air box, but we're also going to need to clean the carburetor. So we need to get in here and all that. Looks like the easiest way to do that is going to be taking off this front bracket. So I'm going to grab some wrenches, and we're going to see if we can't get this front bracket off of here. These bolts really couldn't have come off of here much easier, I'll say that. You can definitely tell that this thing was kept inside for the most part. Overall it's pretty clean, unless somebody had repainted it once upon a time, which I suppose is an option, but this looks to be pretty much the same color green that they came with, so I don't know. I'd like to think it's original. It doesn't really, I haven't come across anything yet that would lead me to believe that it's been repainted, so we'll just take for the fact that it's still the original, and they just kept pretty good care of it. There we go. Top side of this air box was all split out. I don't know if you can really probably see it in there, but it's cracked out inside there. I think all this here too, it looks like it's seen better days. All that's broken, and all this here isn't holding on like it should anymore. Looks like somebody tried to epoxy this in here. Looks like they maybe partially succeeded, but pretty rough looking overall. Set all this to the side. I have another air box here. Hopefully it'll fit, because I would really rather not reuse this. We don't have to, because this is a pretty rough shape. Get a little magnet so we don't lose all of our hardware. There we go. Okay, we should be pretty well loose there now. outer shell should slide off. There we go. Yeah, you can see all that. It's all broken and busted. Looks like it might have took a hit or something, or not sure. Being in here with this bracket, perhaps the bracket was hitting on it. I can see that it was rubbing right here, so we may have to put like a few extra washers or something on here and move that bracket out just a touch to get it away from the side. But yeah, you can see in there somebody tried to epoxy that and just kind of made a mess. Got pieces of plastic in here. It's like somebody had this off of here at one point. I can see somebody never put the clamp back on the fuel tank, which is actually going to kind of help us out here on that. So I'm going to grab like a bowl. We're going to drain this old fuel down into there. Yep, that fuel line just broke, so we may end up having to take the whole tank off anyway and replace this fuel line entirely, probably. It's gonna happen. Yeah. Bunch of dirt came out of that. Doesn't look like our fuel flow is very good either. I can see the entire fuel line up here is all caked with dirt. It's all stuck full. We may end up just having to take this whole fuel tank off, to be honest. This fuel line ripped already. Looked in pretty bad condition. Grab a pair of fuel line pliers and clamp this flow off, and then we might as well just go ahead and pop that tank off, probably. It's like 12 millimeter was the magic number we were after. There's two. Is that it? There we go, that's it. Can we manage to get this through? Oh yeah. Alright, I'm gonna set that aside for now for the minute. Sure got that on there pretty good. There we go. That was on there tight. Okay. Get our spring pulled off. And if we turn this sideways, this will pull right out the top. There we go. Okay. Yeah, looks dirty, but looks like we should be able to clean that. So we got our gasket back here that'll need replaced. That's all ripped up. Take that off of there. Everything else looks okay. Get to our spark plug right there. Not too easy enough. Alright, let's get this onto the bench and get the carburetor taken apart and get that started in the ultrasonics. First order of business, let's pull out these drain plugs and so on, because we'll end up wanting to reseal them. Well, it's pretty well dry. Not much comes out of there, a few drops. Don't look too bad. A little dirty maybe, but kind of expected to see worse. Overall, it looks pretty good, actually. Probably just going to leave all this stuff on there. I don't really think we need to take all that out. I will, however, since we're going to be rebuilding the fuel shutoff area here on this, we're just going to go ahead and take that apart. Ooh, maybe. That's pretty tight. Maybe we won't be. We'll try something else here. Sometimes when you have a stuck bolt like this, sometimes the jar from an impact will get it out. I have my doubts, but we're going to try. Yeah. Doesn't look real good. Oh, there's one. Managed to get that one out. Okay. Got one out. Let's try a vice grip here. Before I mess it up too much, and see if we can't get this side work loose a little bit. There we go. Got this side loose. Perfect. These screws can be pretty temperamental. Got our spring up top. Here we got our rubber shut off. It's pretty worn out by the looks of things. There we go. As you can see in here, our main fuel tube is just absolutely caked with dirt. It's absolutely stopped up with dirt. Let me try a little bit of forced air on this one side over here and see if we can't blow some of that dirt out. Saw something come out. Feel some air coming back through there, so I'm going to say it's at least open enough to hopefully allow the ultrasonic to kind of work the rest of that dirt out of there. Otherwise, this looks about as clean as we're going to get it. So I guess we'll go ahead and get this into the ultrasonic and get this cleaning here for a little bit, and that should hopefully do the trick for us. Doesn't look like it's going to fit into one of my plastic containers, so we're going to have to use a plastic bag instead. Which works okay. It's not my preferred method, but it does work alright. Get all these pieces thrown in here. I don't need them washed. Okay. I use Simple Green with water and then a little bit of dish soap. It helps to degrease things. Get all these parts covered up. Take a little bit of Dawn dish soap. Squirt some of that in there. And we seal it up. Okay. Go get the ultrasonic ready. While we got our carburetor running through the ultrasonic, we can go ahead and take a look and see what's in our fuel tank. See what kind of a mess we have going on in here. Parts from some old fuel. Doesn't look awful. See if we can manage to get our fuel line pulled off of here. Not a real big fan of these little wire clamps that they like to use from factory. They don't really seem to hold very much, so we'll be replacing them. But for the moment, let's see if we can't get this fuel line off. There it comes. Slowly. There we go. Use a light and look down in this tank once. Yeah, there's a fair amount of crud kind of down in there, in the bottom. I put like a little bit of carb cleaner down in there with some paper towels and use a screwdriver and see if we can't scrape some of that out of there. A lot of junk there in the bottom. I'd assume kind of what it looks like is probably like dirt, tree dirt and stuff. And people using it to grind and then not cleaning it off and getting down into the tank. It's kind of what it looks like. I'm going to put a little bit of fuel down in this and give it some shakes and see if we can't rinse any of that out of here. Turn it this way so our fuel nipples not going to leak on us. Bit of fuel in there. That helped, but I think we're going to end up with a fuel filter on here probably. It's not really all going to come out of there, but a bunch of it did. It'll all come out over time. But right now, immediately, doesn't look like it's all going to come out, so we'll just do the best we can, but we'll probably just put like an inline fuel filter on it for now. and pay attention to it. The tank's good, otherwise it's not rusty or nothing like that. It's just got a little bit of crust down in there. But otherwise, it doesn't look bad. Sometimes Honda likes to use those inline fuel filters. I don't see one in here. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to stick a small pick through. Just to ensure that I don't see one. Yeah, that goes the whole way through, so there's no fuel filter. Sometimes Honda likes to use them little ones that push up in that nozzle nipple there, but I don't see one in there, so we're gonna be good with that. I think I'm gonna go see if I have some fuel line though, and we may just end up changing this fuel line because this stuff's kind of rough. I'm gonna go check my stock and see if we got something that'll fit this. I was able to find some 3/16 fuel line, which is gonna work great for this application here. And I see we got a little bit of mouse house back in there. Let's see if we can't pull that out before we put this all back together again. Thankfully it doesn't look real bad, just right here at the beginning. There we go. Yep, that looks good. I was able to find some 3/16 fuel line though, so we can get this tank set back on. But what I am going to do here in the meantime is just kind of pre-hook this up, and then we'll cut it to length once we have our carburetor. But for the meantime, I can just go ahead and get this stuck on. Grab a fuel line clamp. Stuck on there. Okay. You should just be able to kind of let that hang out there, like so. Until we got our carburetor, and we can figure out our length there with that. So I'm going to go ahead and bolt our fuel tank back down, and then once our carburetor is done, we can go ahead and rebuild that and get that area wrapped up then. Figured I'd go ahead and get in here to our spark plug, and it doesn't look like I can do that without taking off the muffler, or at least loosening it a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get that loosened up, pulled back. They almost give us enough room, but just not quite, it don't look like. We'll just pop this back off here a little bit. We may not need to take it off the whole way. It might just be easier to do that. Yeah, it's easy enough. We'll just take it off. There we go. We can get right to our spark plug. See that? They make that angle really Angle's pretty difficult to get to. Unless it's, I don't think it's, yeah. It's, might have to use the old wrench for this one. So, with that valve cover being in the way there, it makes it pretty tough to get into. I don't think that this is 3/4 either. More 13/16, but I don't know if we can. Oh, well, maybe. Maybe I can get it off. Yeah, maybe we can. It really wants to jam up though. There we go. Okay, well, I think we can work with that at least. Yeah, they could have left us like a little bit more room there, and that would have been nice. That's alright though. We'll get it. They had an NGK in there. Got a little bit of time on it. Go ahead and replace it. And a BPR 5E6, pretty sure. ES, I'm sorry. 5ES on the shelf. I think we should have one out there. Let me go check. Certainly do. Got one out there on the shelf. And we want to set our gap, of course, to our magic 30 thousandths. We are barely at 20 right now. 25. There we go. 30. Okay. There we go. It could have made that a little easier to get into, I'll say. Alright. Looks like our boot's a little bit broken. I don't think it's going to hurt anything much. Not ideal, but we could look into getting another one of them sometime. Why don't we, since I see it's broke for the moment, why don't I just take a little bit of electrical tape around that just so it hopefully helps curb any kind of spark jump over like the muffler there. I may replace that in the future for just my own use. I don't know if I particularly care too much, as long as it doesn't actually cause a problem, but just to kind of help ensure it, we'll just throw a little bit of electrical tape around it for the time being. A lot of times the end of those are replaceable. You don't usually have to buy the whole coil, but I don't have one here, so we'll just do a little something like this. To just ensure that we don't get a spark jump. There we go. Redneck, but it works. Sometime down the road, if we think this thing's going to run pretty good for us, I may end up doing like a little bit of a muffler modification. You'll notice that the muffler over here is just blowing right into the side of the housing, which I suppose is okay. But I wouldn't almost mind making like a little, some kind of an adapter there to get that exhaust away from the sheet metal a little bit better. But for now, we'll run it a little while, make sure we actually like it and so on before I go into all that. But might possibly do that down the road. All right. Muffler's back on. Spark plug's replaced. I think really the only thing we're waiting on at this point is our carburetor, which has about 15 more minutes left on it. I suppose we could change the oil. We could probably do that a while. Let's hop down here and see what kind of a mess we'll make while we're doing that. Looks like we gotta loosen the engine up just a little bit to get into that bolt. It's a pretty big bolt, 17 millimeter. It's pretty large. There we go, I think we can get onto it. What would be ideal is to put a nipple on here, but I don't think I have one here. Oh, man, that was on there tight. But in the future, we very may just do that. Oil don't look too bad. A little bit of sediment in there, but doesn't look terrible. Kind of dark. Still looks like oil, still smells like oil, so I guess that's a positive thing. Alright, our carburetor is all done. Everything looks pretty cleaned up. It's all rinsed out, all the soap and everything. Take our air gun and blow it out. Blow water off a little bit, help things dry. Of course, I realized one thing here that I forgot to take out during our disassembly was the emulsion tube. So let's see if we can't get that pulled out here now. And just make sure it's clean if it even wants to come out. Sometimes these don't like to come out. We'll try. Yeah, this one here isn't going to like to come out. So we'll just make sure that it's open. We'll take our welder tip cleaners, little thin little wires, and we'll just go up through here and make sure that everything is indeed open as it should be. Yeah, which it is. Our wire goes straight through. Okay, just wanted to make sure, and that seems to be all good. I'm gonna take a wire through here as well and just make sure that yeah, I think that this thing's still clogged with dirt, it looks like. So I'm not entirely sure the best way to get up into there, but it would look like our tube is still clogged with dirt. So So let me work on this here a little bit, see if we can get that unclogged. I was able to get it all unclogged. There was a lot stuck in there. I just worked at it with an air compressor, and it blew out a lot. I don't think you would ever saw it on camera if I'd have been filming it, but it really blew a lot of junk out of there. But we have full flow now between our first opening and our main tube. We have full airflow through there now. So we are totally unclogged and working the way we should again. So let's go ahead and take our kit. I'm using the Stens kit 485-006. This will work for the GX240, GX270, GX340, and the GX390, it says. I will leave a link to this, an affiliate link down below if you're interested in picking up this kit, where I got it from. I will leave that down below for you so you can get one as well. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get this reassembly back going on here. Go ahead and start with our bowl seals. Large one goes on here. Smaller one goes on there. Smaller one is our drain. Use a 10 mil to tighten it up. And then the larger one, of course, is our main bolt. Okay, we'll put our bowl gasket into place. Go ahead and put our float back in. Pin back through. And from there we should be good to put our bowl on. Now it goes up against the engine this direction, so I'd like our bowl, our screw, to be out kind of where we can get into it. So I'm going to put it this way so it sticks out towards the front so we can actually get to it to drain. Throw this on. Okay, it's all tight. And over here, just gets this rubber disc. It's in there like that. We got our lever. And we have our spring that goes on top of there. And our final mounting plate keeps pressure on everything. Like so. There we go. Okay. There we have our on and off. Back on there again. I don't believe we use these. These come with the kit. I don't believe they're for the GX240. They might be for one of the other ones. I don't believe I have them. If I find them here, I'll let you know. But right off from memory, I don't believe we have them on here. So let's go ahead and get our carburetor back onto the engine. We're going to need our gasket. So we got our back gasket here. Nope, that's not it. Let's see, where is it here? Somewhere in our package of gaskets. There we go. Here's what we're looking for. Okay, I believe it goes... Let's see. Should go this direction, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Goes that direction. And then we have our carburetor. And of course, before we hook all that up, we gotta hook up our linkage. So we'll just do that the exact reverse as the way we took it off. There we go. Okay, that's a little bit better. Alright, so that's all in there. Looks like we got a little bit of mouse house stuck back in there. I see. Can't get that pulled out of here. Thankfully, they don't seem to be real bad, just little pieces here and there. They seem to be still there. Overall, looks alright. Okay. Alright, there's that. Now, OEM has a metal spacer that goes on here like so. And that metal spacer has rubber gaskets on it. And the only problem with those rubber gaskets is over time they tend to degrade. And instead of buying a whole new spacer, you can get just the gaskets themselves. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a gasket on either side, which will make up for lost time there. And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, does this go on there this way? Make sure I put it on there the right way. No, I don't believe it does. Come on now. Here we go. Let's see. I think it goes that way. That way it would make sense. Not sure what's up with our... Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, that would be correct. Okay. And then we take our spacer. Put that on there. Like that. And then we put another gasket on this side, which will do the exact same thing as the OEM style, but without having to buy the OEM rubber spacer there again. But now it's double gasketed, so that's all we needed it to do. Next thing for us to decide is our fuel line, and I'm going to guess here that it might be nice to put our fuel line like right in somewhere like that. I'm going to say probably going to make this clamp here almost useless, but I'm okay with that. In fact, I might even just put it down here, a little bit better access. Let's cut it right about here. And we can always change this back again if we need to. But I think for the time being, to a lot of that dirt and sludge and stuff is kind of worked through our tank, I think we're going to want a filter in here, so we're just going to put one in. Slide that right in there. Might need to get the next size clamp. Nope, got it. Okay. And then going out here the other direction, we can get a clamp on. Like so. Push that down on like that. Okay. And I'm gonna say we'll go somewhere right around there. Kind of trial and error here on this. I think that'll work though. Okay. Not pretty exactly, but it should work. Should at least keep our carburetor from getting all re-cluttered up. Go ahead and take some of this apart. Got an air filter in it already. That's cool. Okay, there we go. All right. Everything looks like it's going to be the same. The post isn't broken. Okay, so we got a gasket on this side. That should be all we need. We just got to work our breather hose onto there. And then our studs go through. Okay, so it doesn't quite want to set back on. Doesn't seem like they're quite long enough. So what might the issue be here? It's close, but not quite. Let's try taking out that spacer, that steel spacer on here, and going down to just one gasket and see if that makes up the space we need to. It seems like it fits just a little bit differently. Which, if it doesn't have the spacer, I don't think it'll be a problem. There we go. Okay, let's try that once and see if that gives us the space that we need. Yep, that does it. So what I'm looking at is our back. There's a bolt that goes down in the back here, and that wouldn't have fit with that spacer in there. So that's it should fit there now. Just make sure. Yep. Yep, that's gonna work. Okay. So let's go ahead and put our front nuts on. Now that I have it tightened down, it looks like everything's smushed back really far, so maybe that steel spacer will be okay. Let's just put it back on and try it. I didn't think it would, but everything's smashing down there. It's almost, now it's going too far past. So I'm guessing that, kind of like a spacer in the back, I'm guessing that spacer in the back actually has more flex than I thought it did. So let's just put it back on and try it that way. Because it might actually work. It almost looks like it might work. Okay. Yeah, I think it will work. Take a little bit of finagling maybe, but it should go down in. Yeah, there it goes. Barely fits, but it does go down in. These air filter little foam pieces that come on the outside of these, they're supposed to be oiled. And they call these a pre-filter, primary filter, whatever you want to call it. Basically, what their job is to catch any of the fine dust first, and then the other filter is supposed to pick up the thicker dust. So you want to use a little bit of motor oil, and it's easier if you use the bag that they came in. And just put some motor oil in it, and then squeeze it all into the filter. Get it all worked in. You don't want too much on the filter because it can cause air not to get through it, which of course is goes against what you want. But you can kind of get it all nice and oiled, worked around. And then take it in a clean paper towel and just kind of get the excess out of it, so that way it's not sopping wet. You just want it to be lightly oily, enough to pick up those fine particles of dirt. Just kind of stretch this back on and around it then. Like so. Okay, so I guess next in line would be this piece here with our rubber seal on it. That all pushed into place. And then we would have our filter. Our filter has its own separate tension nut. That. Okay, how's that work? All of our levers still function. Okay, that's good. And then we'd have our main top case, like that. There we go. And that keeps tension down through everything. Okay, I guess the only thing we're left with next is motor oil in the main engine, and then I think we're ready to give this thing a try and see if it's going to run. We do have to put our side support on, actually, so let's do that next before the engine oil. I almost forgot about that. So our bracket is to go on here, like so, but it was rubbing on our air box before, and I'm kind of wondering to myself if it could use a spacer or not. There is a little bit of space there behind it, but I think, honestly, why not just put a little bit of space between it. So let's grab 4 washers of equal thickness as best we can, and see if we can't just kind of put them behind the bracket and just move the bracket out just a little bit. We got barely just enough room back in there now. I could probably fit like a business card in between it, so I'm glad we put those washers on there. Could almost maybe done just a little bit more, but I'm happy with that. At least it's not touching like it was. I guess last but not least, we need engine oil in here, or all of our work will be pretty well in vain, I guess. So we are all drained out, and we're ready to put our drain plug back in. Get that stuck back in. I'm going to put 10W30 back in this, since primarily we'll be running this over the summer months. I'm not too worried about it being too cold. There we go. Of course, we had to loosen up our engine bolts. So we'll get them tightened back up. Of course, this here works about the same way. It doesn't have a dipstick, so you just fill it up so it's at the bottom of the threads, just like you would Briggs & Stratton or similar spec. There we go. We're full up here to the top. Up to the top of the threads and ready for our plug. There we go. Okay, with that, I think we are pretty well back together. We got a new spark plug, got a new air box. Our carburetor has been cleaned and rebuilt. And we have a brand new air box on. Fuel filters installed. We have engine oil in there. The only thing we're really missing yet would be fuel. So let's put a little bit of gas down in the tank here and see if we got any leaks. Don't see any leaks right off. Let's go ahead and open up our fuel line. Our carburetor side, I see our fuel filter has filled up with fuel. That means we are getting it down into there. Okay, so we would have full throttle would be that direction, and this would be our idle. So let's put it somewhere right in the middle. And we got our choke on. Turn our switch to the on position. And I got our digital tachometer hooked up here so we can hopefully see what we're running at. Let's give it a pull and see if it'll fire off. Well, that ran surprisingly smooth and quite easily. The only thing we were seeming to have just a little bit of problem with is keeping up our RPMs. So I'm going to take this air box back over here so I can see in there a little bit better and see if we can't figure out why our lever doesn't want to stay up. It looks like it was right at 3,600 once we were up there the whole way. But I'm going to assume something in here is just a little bit loose. Yeah, I'm going to say that right there. Let me see. There's just a little adjustment down in there. See if we can't make it. I believe I got it. It was the main lever screw was a little bit loose and allowing a little bit of slop. So I think I got it there fixed up there now. Let's fire it back up and see if we fix that. That's about where we want it. So I think from here, the only thing left to do is to find some sticks, and let's see how it works. Well, with that, I think our mighty Mac wood chipper runs again. It works really good. It chips things perfectly well. It took that 2.5-inch limb there I sent through it and ate it for breakfast. It didn't really seem to care. Our slip clutch was making a little bit of noise, I noticed, but I think for the moment I'm going to leave that alone. It could be something we look into in the future, but it does work. It does slip, and yeah, I think we'll just let that alone for the time being, though. All in all, I am very happy with that. We picked this thing up for $75, and if you know much about these machines, they go for a lot more than that. I think brand new, you can still get these units. Brand new, they're starting a little over $2,000, so I am not upset about this find at all. It seems in pretty good condition, and will serve us just fine, I think. So that's all I got for this one here. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. Let me know if you have one of these and if you like it, or maybe some things you found that you didn't like about it that I should check into on this one. Hit that like button. It doesn't cost you guys a thing, and it does help out the channel quite a bit. And if you're not subscribed and you like this kind of content or want to see more of it, make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any future uploads that we have, and we got plenty more in the future coming for you. So I'm going to go find a few more sticks to send through this thing just for the fun of it, but we will see you guys in the next one.